Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Tracy, we have a very interesting interview coming up. Our token man, our special guest, Thomas Miskowski. Tom, along with his business partner, acquired Kitchen Solvers in 2010 and was appointed president in November 2022. With over a decade of leadership in Kitchen Solvers, Tom has been instrumental in driving the company's success through his commitment to franchisee satisfaction, innovation, and per unit metrics. These pillars are rooted in his philosophy of delivering what he would expect, want, and need from a franchisor if he were to open a franchise location. Tom's extensive career spans various leadership roles, including president at Century Foods International and chief operating officer at Muscle Milk. With a mission of providing a pleasant remodeling experience, Kitchen Solvers has become America's premier kitchen remodeling franchise, boasting over 50,000 satisfied homeowners. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Perfect introduction.
Boom, what can I say?
You even pronounce his last name perfectly, Rebecca. We have to.
I know, I have a tendency kind of bumble there sometimes, don't I?
So Tom, tell us, we each have a certain way that we show up, right, to our families and in our work life. What is your perception of the way you show up, like your role at Kitchen Solvers?
Well, I mentioned that we don't have 45 franchises here. I've got 45 families that are counting on me to make the right decisions every day, plus a corporate staff. So I view my responsibility as a very serious responsibility. Where would these families be if I were to fail them? And that motivates me day in and day out to do the right thing and to help them be successful.
Wow.
So, Tom, do you see yourself as a kind of the Papa Bear, the protector, or is it bigger than that?
I think there's certainly, to some extent, you could explain it that way. But I really get a kick out of watching people grow and watching people, go beyond where they thought they could go. And I like to provide an environment, an atmosphere where those kind of people can be successful. I don't want to make every decision for everybody, and I sure don't want to make every decision in our own company. I like to surround myself with people who have a vision, and I like to let them take that vision to fruition. Really what we're looking for is I'm looking for entrepreneurs who want to grow a business, and I'll provide a framework and I'll help you. But you got to have the drive and you got to have the vision.
That's really nice that you provide the space for that creative flexibility, right? It sounds like you're not just putting them into a formula or a box.
Right. I don't think there's one size fits all solution to remodeling a kitchen. I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And I don't want to tell a franchise partner, here's what your staff is going to look like. Here's what your showroom is going to look like. That might work for other businesses, but that's not the culture that we're trying to achieve. I think there's a way that you can own this business and work out of your home. And I've got one franchise partner. She educates her children at home, homeschools her children, and runs a Kitchen Solvers in addition to that opportunity. And if I was overly prescriptive with how you must run the business, she wouldn't be able to do that. And she wouldn't be on our team today, and she's doing a great job.
Great point.
So as you pointed out then, because there is this flexibility on how you're going to run a Kitchen Solvers business, you really do need someone who is self-motivated, self-driven, committed. I guess really someone who has self-discipline in many ways, and at the same time capable of thinking on their own feet, while at the same time getting feedback from corporate and some systems and processes that they can use to build their businesses.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I'll emphasize, being open to feedback. Sometimes, you're going to run your business in a way that I think you're taking it too far. And if you're open to that feedback, I'll help you establish where those boundaries are, where the guardrails are, and hopefully prevent you from stepping in a pothole along the way.
I thought you were going to say something else. Did you?
No.
Tom, were you always in franchise? Where were you before this?
No, I'm a relative newcomer to the franchise industry. I've owned Kitchen Solvers since 2010, but I was just involved at the board level up until 2 years ago. I've been in manufacturing my entire career. I ran a dietary supplement company prior to this. I started my career in the auto industry in Detroit, and really have been in manufacturing ever since. But what attracted me to the franchise space was, in previous businesses, they were very capital intensive. You needed a factory, you needed equipment, maybe you needed a large building facility. You don't need any of that to be successful with Kitchen Solvers. As a franchisee, you can operate it out of the back of your car. You can go and do in-home visits, and I can grow, our total footprint, our total model without adding a lot of additional facilities and people.
It's so true. Especially with Kitchen Solvers, this is true. Okay, what caught my attention there, Tom, is Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about growing up in Detroit and how that might have influenced who you've become.
Yeah. So actually, it was just west of Detroit, a smaller town, Jackson, Michigan, is where I'm from. But really, a lot of the auto towns in Michigan are the same. They're tough blue collar cities. They're very diverse cities. When I was growing up, there was a lot of jobs that were lost in our community, a lot of vacant houses, and really what I learned, there was that hard work pays off. And I always had the motto that I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I just have to work harder than everybody else. And I learned that at an early age from my parents, and I've carried that with me my entire life. And I'm working on instilling that in the next generation, and hopefully everyone at Kitchen Solvers as well.
Beautiful. So, I understand that you have had very strong women in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Yeah, I think my parents just celebrated their 53rd anniversary. So I've had great role models. And certainly, my mother is a very strong woman. She was a protector, growing up in our neighborhood. And so I'm accustomed to being around strong women. I have a very strong wife. She's a professor at a university, very intelligent, and we're raising some very, very strong-willed girls, young women.
Women make great franchisees, and it sounds like you already have several females in the Kitchen Solver system that are franchisees. So we've seen a lot of success with women in
Yes.
franchising.
Yes, 10% of our franchises are wholly owned by women right now. And then another 25% of our franchises are owned in partnership with their spouse. So we have quite an influence of women in our system as well.
And I want to highlight that, guys, because when you're thinking of remodeling kitchens or otherwise, it is a male-dominated space. So for kitchen solvers to really appreciate the input of women, either as a partner with their spouses or individually, says a lot to have, that many women in the business. So I'm wondering if I can shift gears just a little bit here. Um, let's talk about hunting. I understand that you have a passion for hunting. Is that the word you would use?
Yeah, that's just about my only hobby. I have a farm outside of town, and if I'm not hunting, I'm, preparing for hunting. It's a 365-day sport at my house. I like to head west. I like to hunt big game all over really the country and the world. It's my only hobby.
So what are we hunting? We're hunting deer primarily, where you are in Wisconsin, and then you go west, what, to Colorado? And what are you hunting?
Yeah, sure. So in Wisconsin, deer, turkeys, black bear, grouse, squirrels. And then I'm working on the North American 28. So the 28, species, largest species in North America. There's five different kinds of deer. There's four different elk. There's three, four different moose. I've done a lot of hunting in the mountains to get some of the sheep and goats, the things that are physically demanding before I get any older. So it's kind of a combination of, a physical fitness hobby and a hunting hobby.
Crazy. My son, you remind me a lot of my son, Tom. He's quite a hunter too. I wasn't familiar with, what did you call it? Something 28?
The North American 28.
Yeah. So do you get like badges for each one, or how does that work?
Like the Boy
Uh,
Scouts.
I know, like a Boy Scout, yeah.
no, no, it's just the memories that I carry with me of the hunts. There's no badges.
Okay, so do you bring home the game that you've killed
Yeah,
in like the kitchen, solver's kitchen? We like prepare the meat and the
yeah. I don't know that they're all as into it as I am. I don't know that they're all ready to eat, brown bear. But certainly none of it goes to waste. Either it gets donated on the spot if logistically it's too difficult to bring it back, or I do bring it back and eat it.
oh, what is the largest I don't know, species or largest
Creature.
mammal that you creature something that you've
Are we talking Chinese here,
that
Tracy?
you-
Is that what's going on?
That's
So,
a good question. I don't know that it's either a brown bear or a mountain goat would have to be the largest so
mountain
far.
goat.
Yeah,
Mountain goats are large.
they are. Yeah, the bear's probably bigger, but yeah, goats are large.
What does bear taste like? They say everything tastes like chicken.
No, if it's a coastal bear, they've been eating salmon. They taste real fishy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting. So we love talking about passion and purpose, and you're the first one to talk about hunting. So this is actually kind of fascinating to me. So what is it about this that is so attractive and engaging for you? Is it the conquest, the challenge, the increasing of skills? Is it nature? What is it that
Uh,
really motivates you to do this?
yeah. I've seen places in the world that very few people have seen, as I'm pursuing these animals. I was in the Northwest Territories several years ago, and that was, a commercial plane ride, a small plane ride, and then a helicopter ride. And I was in a place where I don't think any human had ever set foot before. And
Wow.
I saw some fantastic things there. And just, I mean, pushing yourself, mentally and physically. there's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of time to think about it, in the off season. And like I said, I don't like golf. That's not for me. So this is what I do.
Well,
But it's
that's
still
interesting.
strategic like golf,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to consider, in terms of gear, preparation, weaponry. Um, so yeah,
But it's also like solving a different kind of challenge,
Hmm.
right?
yeah. So I have a farm, as I mentioned, and the biggest kick there is harvesting a deer that you've watched grow for 4 or 5 years, and you've seen him see him every day for 5 years, and you he grew on your land and you fed him, and I mean that's an old age for a deer, and I can't believe we're talking about this, but here we are.
No, I love it. I love it. It
Yeah,
allows us to get to know you. In business, so often we have an instant perception of someone and vice versa, they do of us. And we don't take the time to truly get to know the heart of that individual. So I appreciate you sharing this. And of course, my son and his children are all hunters. So I can appreciate the value it brings, not just to control the population and food supply and then of course food for the family at the same time. So it's a big deal. So talk to us about uh, kitchen solvers. What is it that makes you unique in the remodeling space? You've already talked about how it is unique in how you allow a certain level of flexibility. You guys are one of the oldest around since 1982.
right. 40 years. We've done over 50,000 kitchens. I talked about our flexibility. You can This can be a home-based model if you want it to be. You can open a showroom if that's of interest to you. Um, I'll create a custom marketing plan for you. I'll be your digital marketing expert. You don't need to know about digital marketing. Um, we just launched an AI-based tool that is really exciting. It allows you to walk into somebody's home, scan their kitchen with your phone, take a few directions from them in terms of style and color of the kitchen cabinetry, and then it will produce a 3D rendering of their kitchen. And the rendering is like a drone flying over the kitchen. It's not a still image. And then ultimately that will create an estimate, and it will create a purchase order when they say we're ready to buy the kitchen. So it's a very attractive tool for the homeowner. And two, it's going to make our franchise partners' lives a lot easier. Work smarter, not harder.
Nice.
All I can say is wow.
Yeah, that's really
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah. Um, we recently started manufacturing our own cabinet boxes. Um, so I said I got involved in this business because there was no, labor intensive
Manufacturing.
or capital intensive processes. And the first thing I do is open a factory, but it was a good decision. We're able to provide our franchise partners very competitively priced cabinet boxes. And more importantly, we have the flexibility to do anything. And the goal is that you never have to go into somebody's house and tell them no. We've got a solution for everything that they want. And if they have a different price range, we have a product in that price range. So yes is the answer to the customer.
It's so interesting how you import your experience from your manufacturing background into what you're doing today with kitchen solvers.
Mhm.
Yeah, and for a company who's been around for 40 years but has no manufacturing background whatsoever, I mean, it wasn't, tangential, and it wasn't an easy lift. We had a lot of work that we did, and it's in a great place right now, and it's a very popular line.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
This AI thing that you have or app or whatever you're calling this, where you can go in, scan, get some recommendations, get a bid, order it all in one thing. I would think that would bring some franchisees that maybe in the past would have been intimidated because
Yeah,
designing a kitchen, I always thought was a complex thing, but you're
it
taking a
is.
lot of that complexity out.
Yeah, so we always had we had designers in the past that would design kitchens, but they're sketching them out, longhand, and sending a computer file now. This is a lot quicker, and when the homeowner sees their kitchen in that fashion, as a drone flyover, it's a really powerful tool, and they're pretty inclined to want to have a new kitchen when they see it like that. So, and then it just saves the franchise partners so much time having to list out the materials and order and make sure everything is perfect. So it's a win across the board for everybody.
I can speak. I'm a real estate investor and recently um, remodeled 2 kitchens in an Airbnb and tried to do it myself, right? I ended up with 4 extra cabinets because I had no idea what I was doing.
Bad.
Bad. Do not
Yeah.
do what Rebecca Monet did. So I have these cabinets that, are just sort of there. So get professionals to help you and get
There you
AI
go.
to help you.
And the other thing I wanted to add to the business model, you don't have to have any remodeling experience to be successful doing this, right? There's always people that we can find to help you install cabinetry. What I'm looking for is people who are organized, detail oriented, and most importantly, can talk to people. If you can do those things, we can help you be successful in this space.
Nice. So, Tom, in your journey from being in the corporate world to business ownership, if you look back, what can you share with people? What do you wish that you would have known or that people know now?
Yeah, I I've been full time in this franchising space and working for myself for 2 years. I could kick myself that I didn't make this move when I was in my 30s, and I waited 20 years later to do it. It's just the flexibility, the happiness. When something good happens, the good days are so much better than my good days in corporate America. Um, and at the end of the day, I have myself to look at in the mirror, and if it didn't work the way I wanted it to, there's only one person to blame. There's no red tape. It's on me, and I like that accountability. And I'm looking for people who want that same accountability.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Tom, let's talk pet peeves.
Yeah.
I have a few. I was thinking about it this morning when I woke up. Do you have any pet peeves?
I do. And my son came and lived with us this summer, as he's in between years in college, and he really helped me identify a lot of my pet peeves when he came home from school. Um, Disorganization. If you can't present to the public that you're an organized person, that's a problem. If you can't communicate in a timely fashion, if you just ignore emails and details, those are problems, and they're going to fester, and they're going to ultimately hamper your ability to be successful in, I think, a Kitchen Solvers franchise or any walk of life. So um, I like the organization to start with, my desktop, and it, progresses to my vehicle and my home. I like to be organized everywhere I go. And I think that helps me focus on what needs to be focused on.
Nice. Have you
Hopefully
had,
that, hopefully that doesn't come across as a little too anal, but
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because it does put the mind at peace and it allows the mind to deal with bigger challenges or greater creativity when organization has taken a lot of the burden off by being habitual about being organized. So it opens up mental space. And it sounds like these are attributes of a kitchen solver franchisee that will also help them be more successful, is to follow through, to be organized. And as a leader, probably things you're bringing to the table to make sure
Yeah.
they can be more organized and responding more in a
Yeah,
time.
if somebody reaches out to you and they want to talk about buying a kitchen from you, if you respond immediately, your success rate it goes up exponentially compared
Yeah.
to if you wait 2 days and call them, right? If you don't pick up the phone and talk to them, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to call somebody else. They're going to keep making phone calls till somebody answers the phone, right? So that organizational level equates to financial success. It just makes, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And answer your phone.
Good point.
Tracy, I talked over you earlier,
No,
so
no, no, it's
I'm gonna
okay.
give you the floor.
No, 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 that's okay. You elaborated more on the organizational part, which really makes sense. I was just a little curious if you've ever had a mentor, somebody that you would consider, having that kind of impact in your life, in your business life.
You know, I'm sure there are mentors out there, and I wish that one came to mind. Um, I was thrust into a pretty high role at a very early age, and I had no one around me to mentor me in that. So I had to rely on myself. But the closest mentor I have is somebody who has absolutely no business experience whatsoever. She's a scientist and she's my wife. And whenever I have a problem or a challenge, she's the person I go to for good advice and counsel. Even though she has, a science background, she's my counselor, and
Wow,
always has been.
That's,
what
I
a
love that.
beautiful answer. What a beautiful answer. And obviously she has your well-being in mind. She's going to give you advice that would make sense. It's funny because as you were saying it, I actually got a little bit emotional because it reminds me of my husband that I lost. He passed a number of years ago, and he was probably one of the wisest people I've ever known. And even today, years later, I will hear his advice and I will ask myself, what would Lou do in this situation? So
Mhm.
the trust you have with your wife and the respect.
Mhm.
So she's your counselor, if not mentor, for sure counselor.
Wise is a good word.
Wise,
That's
yeah,
that's the word, wise.
for sure. Oh my goodness, yeah, that just gave me chills.
Absolutely.
So speaking of your wife and
Yes,
for your team,
yes.
how would they see you?
Mm.
If they had to describe you in three adjectives, how would your wife and how would your team describe you?
Um, I guess that would depend on the day, but hopefully they would describe me as somebody who gives them latitude to make their own decisions. I want to make as few decisions in a day as I can, because I want them to make all the decisions. Um, I want to set the corporate direction and the strategy, and then sit back and let them enact the strategy as they see fit. And I think they do a fantastic job of that. They are subject matter experts in their fields, and I am not. So I try to get out of their way and give them an environment where they can grow and guide the company. And I think that's happening today. Um, I can make a decision, and if somebody brings a decision to me, I will make a decision. But hopefully that's not, immediately. Hopefully that's after we've cycled through it a little bit.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I would also say,
Mhm.
um, I want to have fun, right? I'm here to enjoy myself and to laugh every day. And I like to have a fun environment, with the franchise partners in the office. And, that I want to foster that fun place to be. But that isn't to say that there aren't going to be times where I have to tell you things you don't want to hear. I'd be doing people a disservice if I wasn't honest with them, and I'm always going to be
Yeah,
honest whether you like it or not. And that goes with our franchise partners. Sometimes it's for their own good.
yeah. So it's interesting, you talked about this work ethic that you got from, living in and around Detroit. But there's also this part of you that knows how to have fun. So that's a beautiful, beautiful balance. I think in business, oftentimes we can get too serious. I know I do. And
Yeah,
I,
what's the point if we're not having fun?
good
Tom,
question. That was a rhetorical question, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that there are people homeschooling their kids right now and people in corporate jobs that would love to get in touch with you. How can they get in touch with you?
Um, Gosh, that's a good question. Kitchensolversfranchise.com. And that'll bubble up to my desk, and one of us will get back to you quickly. Otherwise, we're out there at kitchensolvers.com. That's our customer facing website. And we'd love to talk to you.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Tom, we want to thank you for spending time with us and for letting us peek into your brain a little bit and into your heart, and sharing who you are at a deeper core, as well as telling us about kitchen solvers. I was impressed with a whole bunch of things
Well, thank you.
about you. That when I first saw you, I saw this warrior and I saw this protector, and yet as you talked, yes, you're that, but you're also giving a lot of space for folks to kind of figure it out for themselves. So you're not doing it for them or this way. It's here and allowing someone to try to ride that bike and maybe they fall, but you're not going to hold on to that bike along the whole path. So I was just really impressed with how you are able to balance that protector Papa Bear side with this give space to people so they can learn and express themselves and build their businesses that are best for them. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
This was a lot of fun. I appreciate the, as you say, esoteric questions. It made me think. So very enjoyable and worth my time.
Beautiful. And Tracy, you always do the best wrap ups. What were your thoughts about Thomas's interview?
Rebecca, you just summed it all up so beautifully. The one thing that I was thinking is that on the pre-show, when I asked you, Tom, if you considered yourself to be an advocate, I think I'm changing that word to like an empowerer. You empower people around you, because I agree with Rebecca. I love the way you say, well, here's the framework. I'm giving you the framework, but you've got this creative latitude. And I think that's so important, because a lot of times people are afraid to delve into franchise because things from the outside perspective might seem like they're so operationally structured, and they might be, but there's also this whole other side, which is creativity. Bring me your ideas. I'll help you with the marketing, all of that. I'll help you with the AI, with the technology. So I love the space that you create for people. And yeah, I think, you're going to grow at an exponential rate. Continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree, Tracy, completely. So, and thank you, Tom, and thank you to our audience today for listening in to our interview. Make sure that you comment, like, share Thomas, his interview in full with others. And of course, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.